Hey everybody, welcome back to Lego Space. So today doing an update on the chassis for the JB70 mods. Pretty much got the whole chassis done. How he has per the constructions, couple real little changes along with some color changes that I've been doing of my own. But overall, super cool mod, and we're gonna kind of go through this whole chassis and talk about some of the stuff that's a little upgraded and pretty cool. There's a lot of cool things going on here. Um, so let's see. First things first, you guys will see I do have the yellow shocks on there. The upgrade has you putting another set of shocks up front to help with the front suspension being a little bit more rigid. And I did not have one more pair of red set of shocks to make it all matching, but I did have a bunch of yellow extra ones, so I figured, oh well, we'll just put all yellow ones on there, so that way at least it's matching. Um, let's see here. I guess we'll start with the gear changing, which is pretty cool. See if I can get the car kind of around where I can do this. So you guys can see it's still paddle shifters, pretty much the same setup. There's a couple little changes in there. We're only running one set of rubber bands on this now, which really helps because as I showed in the previous video, we have a set of rubber bands clamping down on the shaft that runs the gear change, and that kind of helps it lock into place. Plus I showed the dead stop, which is now hidden. So now, instead of just being able to get lost in the gears and constantly run through the gears, there's a dead stop up and a dead stop down going through the gears, so that way you know truly when to stop. And then something that I thought was really cool that I kind of showed the inner workings of before I got too far here is the gear indicator. This will actually show you just kind of a nice little spectrum of what gear you're in. All the way over is first. See if I can do this one-handed. Try to show you guys. There's second, third, and fourth. And then that hits a dead stop. So then you can't run through any more of the gears. So you know you're all the way over. And then same for going down in gears. So that's really cool. Along with the dead stop, you can not only go through the gears constantly, but you also have a visual of, okay, what gear am I in, and you know when to stop. Something else I changed was actually putting a ball on the shifter. I'd never liked how they were using one of these collar pieces up there. I think a ball just looks much better for drive and reverse. Nothing's changed in that. The drive still engages the rear axle to the gears. Reverse does the same thing and still keeps the engine spinning the same direction that it should. Nothing's changed with that, but the switching of the gears is really nice. It feels a lot better. Like I said, I took this car completely apart to dust it, and then before actually getting around to rebuilding it, I decided to see what mods were out there for it. Found JB70s on Rebrick, and saw some pretty cool stuff that I really liked. So that's kind of what we went with, and it's been really cool. So in my opinion, huge upgrade in how changing through the gears goes. The actual running of the gears is a lot smoother when rolling the car back and forth. Everything connects really nice, and the engine spins over really nice. No binding. Took my time putting it together, making sure things weren't too tight, of course. But it's really smooth. Even through all the gears, everything is really smooth. Reverse is smooth. Another big upgrade is the steering. And I kind of showed a little bit of what was going on, but now we got the steering wheel and the hand of God steering here. That's gonna have one more cover over the top and then one more of these black gears on top, so that'll be your actual knob to steer from. And either or works really nice. I'll try to show you guys this. You guys can see the steering is vastly different from how the car originally was. It's actually using two little rack pieces instead of the whole instead of this whole rack and pinion, which, if I remember correctly, sat pretty low down in there. This sits up a little bit higher. But yeah, it works really nice from the steering wheel. No binding. It seems like it steers over a little bit quicker and just easier. And even just grabbing this axle and steering it, it's really nice. So once that gets finished and you have the gear on top of that, the hand of God steering will be really, really nice on that. So that was another huge upgrade from the original. No changes with the differential in the back, really. Just some of the support network is a little different for the suspension. And one of the cool things about the front and rear suspension is it now has anti-roll bars. So, and I'll try to show you here. So it has a link that comes through to this rod that can pivot up and down all the way over to the other side. So the suspension itself is tied together, and you guys can see if I push down on just one side, it does actuate the other side. So, you know, let's say in real life this car is going around a tight turn, putting force on one side, instead of allowing this suspension to bottom out and get lifted up, the anti-roll controls it and brings it down as well, so that way you get more downforce on your suspension and your car's not lifting up to one side too much. And essentially, if you're going fast enough around a tight enough curve, you could roll it. So that's the whole point of anti-roll, and it's really cool that it actually works. That's probably one of the coolest things. I've never really seen anti-roll on a Technic set before, so that's really cool. You guys can really see how it works. And like I said, even if I just push down on one side, you guys can see this other side. The anti-roll bar brings the suspension down along with it. Same thing with the back. You guys can see the anti-roll actuating, and if you just push down on one side, it brings the other side down with it. So that's super cool. That is really, really cool. Something that was definitely not in the original build. Other than that, still did a lot of color modding, kept things dark, tried to make it a little bit more of a mature looking build, used all dark panels on the bottom, as many dark pieces as I can use. Of course, some of the motor stuff is gray, so we kept that gray. But yeah, it's coming along really nice. Like I said, just the chassis alone is a super cool, unique build, and with doing these mods and working off of the instructions on my computer here, it's basically been like a whole new build. It feels like I'm not even building the same car, which you kind of are, but you kind of are not building the same car, because it's fully upgraded. I mean, this chassis from front to back, fully upgraded. The gearing system is just so much smoother, so much better. The shifting of the gears is just butter compared to what it used to be. Used to be kind of stiff, clunky. Like I said, you could just constantly rotate through your gears nonstop, and you'd kind of get lost in what gear you were. But now you have not only the dead stop, but you have an indicator to visually see what gear you're in. Super cool. That's really, really cool. that JB70 came up with that, and I'm really liking that, so that's really cool. And then of course adding a set of shocks up front, so that way you don't have, once the body is put on, you don't have that sag of where the suspension doesn't have enough strength to return itself. Both front and back feel really good. Even with the addition of the anti-roll, you really don't feel that when you're pushing down on the car, so it's a really nice setup on that. Nice thought into it. Really nice detail. One of the things that has been a struggle is the instructions. Now, of course, I've kind of moved on to working on the body. Let's see, remember my page here, 150. So, try to run back up through some of this stuff here. I got, let me see here. Grab that and go a little bit quicker. So one of the hard things is, and this is a pretty easy part, but some of the stuff's pretty complicated. You'll get your picture of your parts list, but then when it comes time to putting the parts on the car, you're basically up to just looking at the picture and studying it really closely. And some stuff is easy. Some stuff has been pretty challenging to really see where it's going if there's a lot of pieces. You know, you guys can kind of see you really don't get too much. You know, you get a picture, you get your parts list, and then you get the picture. So you really got to study those pictures and see where your parts are going. The biggest thing I've struggled with is just a couple of the black Technic pins. Those kind of get lost in the picture, but if you study it close enough, you'll see where it's coming from. These are good instructions. They're just not as detailed as what Lego puts out, where they actually show you where the parts are going. They highlight them. They even show some sub-assemblies and stuff like that. So if you are kind of looking for a little bit more of a challenge like that, this is great. Like I said, nothing wrong with the instructions. They're just not as detailed as the Lego instructions. So you got to pay a little bit more attention to your pictures, which that's fine. I mean, so far I have had no issues, nothing lost in translation. Everything is there that needs to be there. No parts appearing magically from one page to the other. Really well done. So like I said, this is done, chassis done, awesome, really cool stuff. On to the body now, which this whole setup is made to be two separate pieces, which is even cooler because there is so much cool stuff on this chassis with all the upgrades that you know, if you have another fellow Lego builder who's into this type of stuff come over, you can easily pull a couple pins in the bottom and lift the body off and really get a good look at the chassis. So I think that's really cool that we're able to build this as an independent piece that can go on the car independently. You know, if you want it on the car, slide the pins in. If you want it off the car, just pop a couple pins back and you can take the whole body off. So that's going to be really cool to see that. I don't have the instructions, the actual instructions in front of me right now. I think my next video on this project, I'll have the instructions out and actually do like a side-by-side like I did in the previous video of just how drastic some of these changes really are. Of course, some of it's going to be a little hard to see because I have done a lot of dark colors, so some stuff doesn't quite stand out as it should. And he didn't even do that in his instructions. His instructions basically keep all the same. Find my mouse here. All the same colors. You guys can see a lot of grays, reds, orange, more yellow pieces here and there. So he stays with the he stays with the color combo that Lego basically gives you, and the pieces that you get with this kit. Um, like I said, there's a parts list that you do need to look at on Rebrick. You can run comparisons and see exactly what you need. That's kind of what I did when I picked all the parts that I needed. After I sorted out the parts from the kit itself, but everything, the kit does supply quite a few pieces, but there's a decent amount that you have to pick through. Luckily, I have a lot of spare parts, so I was just able to kind of pick from my own parts. I'm kind of bummed that I didn't have another set of red shocks, because I know those red shocks were kind of special to this particular car. So maybe at some point I'll go on Rebrick and get a couple more sets of those and swap these yellow ones out for the red ones. But overall, really happy with this. It's super cool. Like the attention to detail, how everything is working now. It's a completely different chassis from the chassis that you build from Lego, and I absolutely love that. Like I said, I was kind of not what's the word? I wasn't dreading putting this car back together after taking it apart, but I was kind of worried that it was going to feel stale to me since I had already built it. But with doing the color changes and all these mods, it doesn't even feel like the same car. And with the added complication of dealing with the instructions being a little bit more complicated, it really does not feel like the same build. Like it's pretty exciting, actually. I'm having a great time, really enjoying the build so far, and even the body, it being its own thing, and kind of some of the different building techniques that I've already seen used on this. That's really cool. The chassis always seems to be a little bit more fun than the body. If you're a real Technic guy and you like gears and moving parts, you guys know that the chassis are always the more exciting thing to do, and normally the body work gets a little boring, but it's pretty fun. Like I said, with the instructions being a little bit more complicated and the building process being changed from the original, it's really cool. So my next update, I'll see if I can get the body done, and then we'll run through both the body and the chassis with the actual instruction book that you get with this kit, and we'll go through all the changes and how it looks on Lego versus how this looks. But if you know the instructions and you've built this car before, you already kind of know what I've pointed out is drastically different from what you get and what you build just from the standard Lego set itself. So hope you guys enjoy this update. Hope you guys are enjoying this build. I'm trying to show you as much of the details as I can as I go along. Like I said, I hope I'm not going too fast. I'm trying to show you guys the really cool points and some of these changes as I get to them, and try to show you it in enough of a stripped down form where you can really appreciate it. But I thought this was pretty good to get the chassis done, so that way you guys could see everything from the gearing, the suspension, paddle shifters, everything. So steering. So yeah, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this update, and until next time, take care.